Brian Howell and Big Dog Chico with the Colorado Buffaloes midweek live coming into you from the Bleacher Report app, the BRCreators app, should I say. Make sure you download it as soon as you can and get you some. As of right now, we're looking to get us some, and that's another win as we're 8-2. Colorado Buffaloes getting ready to head to Kansas City to be exact, the Arrowhead Stadium after a big win over the Utah Utes 49-24 at Folsom Field. I guess we could do a quick recap and then get into our predictions, get into some news that's been floating around out there with Coach Prime and the Buffs. Also, we got 6 players going to the East-West Shrine game. So some good news floating around out there that we can get into, and also some hot news. So talk to me, Brian. Tell me what's going on. And we've got to get into some of those Brian facts also from your Twitter. So talk to me. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I always love the Brian facts, right? Yeah, hey, Buffs need to keep it going. They've won 4 in a row. They're obviously playing very well. And you look at the last month or so, and it's hard to argue against Colorado being the best team in the Big 12 over the last month. I mean, you'd have to put Arizona State up there. You actually have to put Kansas up there. Kansas has been really good over the llast month. I think that's going to make this week's game a lot of fun. Actually in Missouri, not in Kansas. They'll be in Kansas City, Missouri. So it's going to make this week a lot of fun. I think it'll be a really good football game. But, yeah, I mean, kind of a weird game last week. I don't know how it looked on TV, Chico, but just being there, kind of a weird game in that, you know, they dominated, but for a lot of the game, you didn't feel like they were. And you know, the defense probably gave up more points than you want to against a Utah offense that's struggling. But then in the end, it's a 25-point win, and you're looking at it and saying, man, for a team that had as many turnovers as they had and kind of miscues, things like that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it started off with a turnover on the offensive side of the ball. After we got the ball and thinking that we was going to start off with get a hot start, boom. But ended up, like you said, as you look up and see the stats at the end of the game, it wouldn't reflect that, as Shadeur Sanders still finished 30 of 41, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's what his 8th game in a row, getting 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, I still think that that's showing his resilience, being able to bounce back, getting his guys in rhythm. The running game got a big boost with Isaiah Gustav, and also Draylon Miller, the freshman, with over 100 yards receiving. So, I mean, everybody will look and hope for a fast start, but you at the end of the day, you put up 42 points, 49 total, and you kind of be like, man, if we hit our stride, we probably be scoring 60 points out here.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, Coach Prime said it best when he's like, I was on Shadeur's butt all day, and then I look at these stats, and I'm like, 30 of 41 for 340 and 3 touchdowns. All right, that's pretty good. But that's kind of how it felt. I mean, Shadeur, not only did they have the interception, but he had that he dropped the snap.
Yeah, that
and just it didn't feel like a great Shadeur game for a while. And then in the end, it's a pretty spectacular statistical game. But and honestly, I think what was most impressive about it is, we knew the Utah offense was not very good, but their Utah defense was really good. Number 1 in the Big 12. They're now number 3 this week, by the way, because of what CU did to them. But they went and put 42 points offensively on that defense. That's pretty impressive. And I've heard people say, yeah, well, they could have had 60, maybe, but I mean, take 42 against the number 1 defense and say that was pretty good. You got to give Utah a lot of credit too, because they had something to do with CU having some 3 and outs, and the linebacker made a great play on the first play of the game and things like that. So give them some credit. But overall, kind of the theme of the press conference afterwards was they didn't play that great of a game, and they just beat Utah, the preseason favorite of the Big 12, by 25 points.
Exactly. And held them to 31 rushing yards total for the game. That's a great job by the defense.
Which, by the way, Chico, real quick, I want to interject there. Yeah. That's even misleading, because I didn't even realize this, because, usually at the end of a game, especially like that, I'm writing, and I don't see the very end of it.
Yeah.
Utah's very last play of the game was a 13-yard run.
So take minus 13 then.
Minus 13. But they also had that last series they had was against they played, I think it was 4 or 5 plays after they got the ball back with 2 minutes left.
Right.
CU put in their backup defense, things like that. Utah rushed for 21 yards in that little series right there.
Mm.
So they had 10 yards rushing
throughout the game.
Really throughout the first team offense, which is that's even the 31's impressive. But you take out the fact that the backups got 21 of those in garbage time. They only had 10 yards rushing. That's pretty good.
Right. That's amazing. And that's another Brian fact, how you break it down like that. If you really look at it and not just look at the topical numbers and break it down, then you'll see they did even better than what the numbers are showing right here. So 272 total yards for Utah in that game, 405 yards, should I say?
Yeah.
For Colorado, 340 passing yards, and once again for Shadeur Sanders. How impressive has Shadeur been these last 8 games on this run and trying to make it a 5th in a road win now? How impressive has he been just looking back over the past great CU quarterbacks like Joe Klatt and Cordell Stewart and throwing some more and so on?
Yeah, he's been really impressive. And I think the best part about it is there's been 2 or 3 times now in that stretch where even Shadeur and Coach Prima come in and said, Shadeur didn't play his best, but he still throws for a ton of yards and a bunch of touchdowns. So we know he can be even better, which is crazy. But honestly, he's at this point, when he's only got a few games left in his CU career, you have to look at him and say, arguably the best quarterback CU's ever had. I mean, Cordell Stewart was up there. Cordell Stewart also had a pretty loaded team around him. Coy Detmer and Cordell were probably the 2 best passers of the football before Shadeur. I think Shadeur is better. Joel Klatt was a pretty solid quarterback. Shadeur is better than him. I love Joel Klatt, but Shadeur is better. Shadeur is really good.
For sure.
Shadeur is really good, and he's on pace now to have 2 of the top 3 passing seasons in CU history. He's one behind the touchdown record for a single season, and based on his track record, he'll probably get that. About 4 minutes left in the first quarter this week?
Exactly. He'll get that pretty early this week, and they're going to be facing a Kansas team that we've seen in some of the recent comments that look like they're going to be taking this pretty serious, as all the teams have. They know what's coming. They know the fanfare that's coming. They know the team that's coming, though, the meat and potatoes that's coming, and the explosive wide receivers, as you saw their star cornerback Kobe Bryant say that we've been locked in on these fast wide receivers. They have a lot of them. It's not just one that we have to lock in on. It's all of them, from LeJontay Western, Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn Jr., Travis Hunter, and the freshman Draylon Miller. How do you think that's going to fare up moving on to this Kansas City game, or at Kansas City Arrowhead Stadium? How you think it's going to fare versus the pretty good Kansas defense who's on fire right now also?
Yeah, I'll say this. If there's a better cornerback duo in the Big 12 than what Colorado has, it's Kansas's duo, because Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson, preseason first team all Big 12. They were both all Big 12 players last year. They're really, really good. I mean, Kobe Bryant, I think, is a 2-time first team all Big 12. If you were going to put up just the duos, obviously Travis is the best single player, but the duos, you might go with Kansas's group, their duo. They're really, really good, and I think it's going to be a fun matchup to see.
We got 3 guys that's going to be dog. Right, looking at you like, dog. You saying that, dog? You see Preston Hodge and DJ McKinney over here and Travis, dog.
I'm just saying.
I'll say this. Look, not to cut you off, but duo, but what we specified the other night was this, and this is what I like to say is, that's 2 guys, right? Duo mean 2, right, guys? 2. Right. Man, we got a plethora of receivers, and when we put them out there, it's going to be tough to match up. And football is about those matchups, and Shadeur is going to be identifying that inside guy, that 3rd and 4th corner, who's going to have to cover his 3rd or 4th receiver, quote unquote, who's like a number 1 receiver. That's LeJontay Western.
Yeah,
that's Jimmy Horn Jr. if he's in the slot. That's Travis Hunter if he's in the slot. So that's going to be the matchup in the chess game, I think. Where and how is Kansas going to match up their 2 best corners with our 2 receivers who they choose to get on, and then how are we going to decipher that as the offense. And I think we have the best quarterback to do that, figure that out. And he loves to go over to the sideline, get on that iPad, and see exactly what they're doing and come back out there and exploit that.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think that's what makes this game fun. Is I guess one of the knocks that people have on Shadeur is that I'll see is like, well, we want to see him do it against a really good defense. Well, this is going to be a good challenge for him. I disagree with that.
That was the number one defense last week. You just said that.
I agree with you. I didn't say I'm saying that.
Oh no,
I'm saying that's one of the knocks that I see.
Right.
That's what's going to make this week fun for me to watch is that Shadeur now gets to that chess match you talk about.
Yeah.
He gets to go against. He hasn't seen a cornerback duo like this all season because there's not very many that are as good as what Kansas has. I think Colorado has one that's around that just as good, right? So he's going to see something that he hasn't really seen, maybe other than in practice, right? But it's going to be a fun challenge to see how Shadeur and those receivers match up against those corners, because I think that if anybody can really match up with CU's passing game, it is Kansas, because they got those good players. You have to give them credit. They're really good. That's going to be a fun chess match. But I agree with you. When Colorado's got 3, 4, 5 guys you can throw at them, Kansas can't cover them all, right?
Yeah. Kansas got some pretty good safeties also back there. Yeah. So, I'll see, can they play as a squad and be as good as a unit as Utah were this throughout the season, which got them that number 1 ranking? Can they do that? But I think, like I said, it's going to be about those individual matchups. That's what Pat Shurmur comes from, the NFL, and finding those things. And once they figure it out throughout the ball game, which I think will be by the first quarter, end of the first quarter, then we'll probably put up another 40 points. But we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to do our over-under and our predictions.
But you make a good point in that, Utah's defense, the CU wound up putting 42 points on them. Now, a couple of them were late after some turnovers that CU created. They had short fields, but they still took advantage of it. Utah's defense did a pretty good job early in that game, and it took a little bit for CU to figure it out. Right. But they did figure it out. And so I think that's the one thing over this run, Chico, that I'm impressed with CU's coordinators, offense and defense, is that they might have some stretches where it doesn't look pretty, but we've seen they're going to figure it out. Defensively, they might give up something early, but they figure it out and then they fix it. Offensively, the same thing. And so that's what I love about this CU team and why I feel so confident in that. They might be down 7-0 after the first quarter because both sides of the ball are still trying to figure things out, but I think they're going to figure it out.
And that's the thing. Speaking of figuring it out, we have to give credit to Coach Prime for figuring it out after last season and making those hard decisions of replacing the coordinators. Much respect to those guys, but it's about fit, and it's about getting what you want, to fit with you and to mesh well with you and your style of play, your philosophy. And I think he saw that, coming into college, he saw that, okay, first of all, I have a short window to get some guys. Let me get some experienced college guys on this level and see how it works out. And then he got them in-house, and he realized probably pretty quickly that I need some guys who are going to make decisions like I make decisions, which is you get out, get in. We need you to make those plays, and if you don't, you need to get out of there. We need guys who make the tough decisions and make those adjustments during the games, before the games, player personnel adjustments, and so on. And I think that having those longtime college coaches there who were kind of in the role of, I think we said this before, in the role of systems and having guys fit into their mold, we're in a stage now where Coach Brown brought in guys who think like him and saying that we need guys who are going to make a game plan that's going to fit around the players that we have and put them in the best position to be successful. I think that's what we're doing.
And it's amazing. You think back to the offseason when Pat Shurmur and Robert Livingston were hired. It didn't come out the same day, but I remember both times when those hires became official or at least rumored and things like that, the general reaction from fans was, okay, that's all they could do, and like, especially with Pat Shurmur around here, because Shermer's most recent job was with the Broncos, and it didn't go well. There's a funny line from Coach Prime a couple weeks ago where he's like, Jesus of Nazareth couldn't have fixed that.
Look what he had to work with, dog.
Right. But Bronco fans were scarred a little bit. And it was like, really, Pat Shurmur. And I remember when Robert Livingston, when I find out he was going to be the guy, one of the first things I do, it's not the only thing I look at, but I'll go to Wikipedia, like, okay, what's their history? Because it shows it pretty succinctly, right? He didn't have a Wikipedia page. And I was like, this is a bad sign. They're hiring a DC without a Wikipedia page. But, and I'm not saying I thought it was a bad hire, but it's those signs right away were like, okay, who do they got here? And the fans were just kind of like, and it's worked out. I mean, he found guys that fit him. And that's why as fans and as media, sometimes we gotta, maybe give, I generally do this, give the benefit of the doubt. Like, look, I was not in the interview room. There's something about this guy that this head coach really liked. And so I want to see what he likes about him. And I think that's what we're seeing out of Shurmur and Livingston, is that they meshed with Coach Prime.
And you said mesh, and we keep bringing this word up when we speak about Coach Prime, and that's relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did immediately. I was like, who does this guy know, and how does he know him? Yeah. Oh, damn, he's been with the Bengals. Coach Prime knows who? Mike Zimmer,
right?
With the Bengals. Pac-Man Jones, who, right. And he said this recently, Pac-Man Jones and several players and other coaches, Marvin Lewis, who's been with the Bengals, who have relationships with this guy, who can recommend this guy in marketing, in communications, and especially in marketing and advertising. Though the best thing is, they say, is word of mouth, or a friend tell a friend, because you can trust. A person is more susceptible to trust what their friend is telling them about anything, rather than just a random person out there. So I think that's what it is. Coach Prime listened to what his friend said, and he got firsthand account on Coach Rob Livingston, and that's why he brought him in after an interview. So this is my type of guy, and that's why.
And here we are, not even a full season in, and it's been several weeks now that the questions come up among CU fans. Is like, is Robert Livingston the best DC they've hired in years?
How long is he going to stay there?
Right. Are we going to lose this guy? Right. Here we are, like 8 months ago, or whatever, 10 months ago when he was hired, whatever. It was like, who?
Man, just an amazing job by him coming in so late, and to be now considered as one of the top coordinators in college football right now. Coming in so late with pieces that he didn't know, and to make things happen like he did. Shout out to Coach Rob Livingston, man.
Yeah, statistically, they're giving up 12. I think it's 12 fewer points per game than they did last year.
That's huge,
which is unbelievable.
Yes, that's 2 possessions, right? And 2 scores.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Another big thing in the news. And Coach Prime kind of put it out there on his new talk show that's on Tubi. And when he asked, he had the guest on there, Ice Cube, and he asked Ice Cube, basically, what would you do, dog? If you was a father in this situation, my kid's going to the league, what would you do? Hell, you got a former teammate of his with the Cowboys, who they won the Super Bowl with, Michael Irvin, coming out saying, I got a really good source, 100%.
Yeah.
That if the Cowboys draft Shadeur and they offer Prime the job, he's going. That's what Irvin said. I think he came out later and recanted that.
I thought that was Michael Irvin saying that. That was a pretty good impression.
Brian. But I'll say this. This is what I think. Since everybody giving their opinion, let me tell you what I think real quick, and you let me know what you think. I think Coach Prime goal, well, he said it in the press conference. He got his kickstand up. He's comfortable. I think, yes, he's comfortable, but also his goal is to build right here, not to keep jumping around and moving. He has everything that damn near you can ask for right now in Colorado. He's going to have next the challenge to prove people wrong once again, once his sons are gone, and they say you can't do it without them, or it's going to be totally different without. Yes, it's going to be totally different. It's going to be the aftermath, the resurgence of what's going on when these recruits come in. It's going to be the new wave.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a new story that goes along with it. And he's going to continue to build this program up because right now, in my opinion, it's wide open in college football for someone to step up and take that charismatic coach Nick Saban role, and Prime is the perfect person for it. And these recruits are going to be attracted to it, and they're going to be there. They're going to be able to take that pick, and they're going to be winning for a long time before he really considers to go to the NFL, is what I think.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot to dissect with all that, right? I agree with you. I think, look, he has never said he wants to go to the NFL. In fact, he's always said the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
He's always said, I don't want to coach the NFL. He told us earlier this year, I'm not going to follow my sons. Like, I'm raising my sons. I'm not going to follow them. All the talk shows, Michael Irvin, all that, that's other people speculating.
Right.
The talk show you're talking about today, that's him asking Ice Cube, what would you do?
What would you do? He asked.
But what Coach Prime has always said, and he even said it this week on Tuesday, he's like, look, I got my kickstand down. I like it here. He said, I love it here.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. I firmly believe that if he's coaching in 2025, it's going to be at the University of Colorado. So much to dissect right there. The transfer portal thing, right? This is a whole other topic. We could do a whole show on this, but he's been blasted so much by national people for this is not the way you recruit. This is not how you do it. Did you hear what Kyle Whittingham said on Monday when he talked about Colorado again? And he was asked, Coach, you look at the top of the Big 12, and two of the teams that are in contention now, Colorado, Arizona State, even BYU to an extent, have transformed quite a bit. They've used the transfer portal. How is it they're able to move so quick and get better? And Kyle Whittingham was the transfer portal. That's why. And so guess what? Here's one of the legends in the sport right now saying, yeah, that's a pretty good way to do it. And so Coach Prime has proved people wrong, and not just him, but Kenny Dillingham is proving people wrong. We're seeing around college football. Kurt Signetti in Indiana is proving people wrong.
Right.
Yes, this is how you can build college football teams in this day and age. And so, as CU fans, I think, we're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves, but you worry about what's it going to look like after Shadeur and after Travis and after Shiloh and these guys.
The same answer.
They're going to find other guys. It's just not going to be his sons.
Right.
There's a lot of other really good football players out there that are going to look at this and say, I want to play for him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's wild.
Yes, he did. They weren't, and you watch that play, and the linebacker was right in that hole, and then at the snap, he went around the edge to try to stunt and moved out of that hole. So, great job by the Buffs. But yeah, I think Michael Welch gives them a different element, and it's important to have him back in there.
Nice. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that. Cameron Silman, Craig praised Coach Prime, talked about how one of the biggest things he learned from Coach Prime. I think you asked him a question also, but he made sure to highlight that not just on the field, but off the field, learning as a man, life lessons and things like that. I think that's one of the key elements that makes Coach Prime an elite recruiter is those things right there, the off the field qualities. I can speak for myself and not throw anybody under the bus, anybody that know, but I've had coaches in the past in my college career that wasn't personal at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And can I say it again? At all. And to have Coach Prime like that, the way you might think that he's going to take you under his wing, treat you like family, show you life lessons. If I know I'm not going to be a professional football player, I could be a professional fireman. I can be a professional here, and he's gonna be a liaison to get me to that profession.
Yep.
However he can do it using his network. So I think that's what attracts these players to him in such roles the way that it does. And I think that's what's going to lead Colorado to being successful.
Yeah, and I don't care how good of a football player you are. Everybody likes to be loved and appreciated, right? And
Yeah.
know that people care for them. And I think that's been huge for Coach Prime. And just my even little thing, my little interaction with Shiloh after the Arizona game, he was blasted a lot before that game. He didn't have a good game against K-State. And I kind of defended him a little bit, right? And you remember the post game when he actually stands up, shakes my hand and said, I appreciate you. You have my back. And that was a sign to me that, like, even a guy like Shiloh, high profile, he notices that, and it meant a lot to him that somebody came to his defense, because it showed that somebody cared about him a little bit, right? And so I don't care who you are, you like to have somebody put your arm around you a little bit and care about you. That's what Coach Prime does with all these guys. I'm not comparing myself to Coach Prime, but I'm just saying that these guys need that. When you have coaches that don't make it personal and it's just a business, it's hard to get up for playing for that guy. But Coach Prime, how many players from Cam and Craig to Tyler Brown to honestly managers on this team that will tell you what kind of an impact he's made on them, because of just how personal he makes it. He treats them with respect and kindness and looks out for them as people, not just athletes.
Exactly. All right, before we get up out of here, we got 6 Colorado Buffaloes playing in the East-West Shrine game. That's a record for Colorado, and as Brian said before, it was 5 in 2017. I think I read it correctly. We have Shadeur Sanders, Shadeur Sanders, Cameron Simmons Craig, LeJontay Wester, Will Shepard, and Jimmy Horn Jr. all agreeing to play in the East-West Shrine game. That's going to be huge at the end of the season. Talk to me about that a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that was pretty exciting, and I'm curious to see if Shadeur actually plays in that. A lot of times the top quarterbacks don't, and also the Senior Bowl stuff hasn't come out yet, and so there is still that chance that some of these guys might, if they get the Senior Bowl invite, do that one instead. I think the game's only a couple days apart, but either way, that what it shows is there's eyes on the guys for CU, and there will be more. It's 6, but I don't expect Travis to be in a postseason.
Probably Bentley, though. I was surprised not to see Levante on there.
Bentley, I imagine somewhat he will. Chidozie at some point is going to get that.
Yeah.
BJ Green's going to get that.
It should be about 10, 12 of them on there for real.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. So this was just the first wave that we saw. There's going to be a lot. I don't know how many will actually end up playing in the Shrine Bowl, but I bet you're going to have several buffs in the Shrine Bowl. You're going to have some in the Senior Bowl. And basically what it all means is that this program's developing, and they've got NFL caliber guys. If they're getting that invite, it's because the scouts want to see them and work with them that week for that All-Star game. And so that's what that says, is that they're the eyes are on them. We know the eyes are on them, but now we know specifically some of the guys they're actually looking at that have that legitimate NFL shot.
Right. So look out for that.
Preston Hodge too.
Preston Hodge also. Yeah, man, we got a squad of guys. At least 12, I think, that should be on postseason, like All-Star games and those senior All-Star games for sure. Shane Cokes. Oh my gosh. Shout out to big Shane Cokes, man. Predictions real quick. We got Kansas coming in hot once again, 2 top 20 wins in the last couple of weeks, and looking for a third one. You got their last home game for some of their seniors. Arrowhead Stadium once again. Colorado going up in that thing. Coach Prime in a pro stadium. Shadeur Sanders in a pro stadium. They're going to have their focus mentally, like, hey, man, this is where I'm going to be next year. A lot of guys on the Buffs team are going to be in that, mindset of I'm playing on a pro field. I'm going to perform like it. I remember being in college. Everybody always said, Chico, you always take it back when you played. That was 36 years ago. Well, here's my experience. I remember playing on Raymond James Stadium where the Tampa Bay Bucks played, right? When the stadium first came out there. That shows my age. But I remember just thinking like, damn, these hash marks, the stadium is different. It's just I need to try to play my best out here. We have several guys that you just named, 12 to 13, I think, that's going to be playing in a pro stadium. How do you think that's going to affect them? And what's your prediction for this game?
I don't think it's going to affect them that much. I think that this team is they're just locked in no matter what. Carter Stoutmeyer had a great quote today when we were talking to him. Somebody asked him about playing in a pro stadium, and he goes, I don't care if we play on concrete. We'll be ready to play.
Damn right.
And I think that's the approach that this entire team has is whatever, no big deal. I think this is going to be a tough one because Kansas is playing really well right now. They've obviously been one of the more disappointing teams in the Big 12. They had that 1-5 start, but the last month they've figured it out. They're playing like the Kansas we thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And they should have a 4-game winning streak. They lost to K-State on a late field goal. And it could have been 3 top 25 wins in a row, but they're playing really well. I think all their losses are by 1 score, so they've been in every game. I don't think CU is going to blow them out, but I think they're going to win the game. I think it's going to be a really good football game. I got CU 31-28.
CU 31-28 from Brian Howell. Brian, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Let me see if I can pull it. I want to see before we get up out of here.
What are you doing here?
No, I'm not going to. And you might know this off the top of your head. I probably should have had this up already, but let me just see. Colorado last few games, 49 points, 41 points versus Texas Tech, 34 versus Cincinnati, 34 Arizona, 28 in the loss versus Kansas State, and then 48 versus UCF. I think we're going to stay right around that 38-42 mark once again, no matter who we're playing, no matter where we're playing at.
Yeah. And I can see it.
I'm thinking, should I even go more? Could this be the game that we really, really ball out and get like a 55-pointer out there?
The Buffs have been balling, that's for sure. 90 points the last 2 weeks. Pretty impressive, obviously, against two really good or 2 pretty good teams, and pretty good defenses at least. Utah State or Utah. Your point that you're trying to make is that you think they're going to put up a ton of points, because they've been doing that lately, and clearly they put up 42 against the best defense in the conference last week. So why wouldn't they do that against a Kansas team that isn't quite as good defensively? But we're going to find out. I mean, this Kansas team is playing really well right now. They really shut down BYU. That defense held BYU to 13 points, came up with a goal line stand late in the game to win that game. So they're playing with some confidence defensively. And like I was saying earlier, they've got maybe the best cornerback duo. You would obviously put CU's duo up there with Travis Hunter and DJ McKinney, but a strong Kansas defense.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can give my prediction real quick. I know we're overtime, but really quick, I think that the question I was asking was, will we hit our stride this week? Because I know it's going to come at some point. And should it be a 55-point prediction? But I'm going to keep it at the 40-point mark. I'm going to say 40 points. 40 points too, and I'll give them 24 points at home. 24 points. Oh, that's a lot of points at home. But see, 40 points. I'm going to leave it like that. 40-24, Colorado wins. And that's just it, man. I think I'm not looking at whether it's going to be a blowout and all this other stuff. I just think that our defense is not going to give up 24 points, more than 24 points. And I think if our offense finally hit our stride, 38 points is like our minimum. So I'm going right there at 40-24 Colorado over Kansas at Kansas City Arrowhead Stadium. Let me know what y'all think. Get in the comments right now. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we're going to be up and about this thing right now. Brian Howell, BiggDogg Chico, let us know in the comments right now, and we'll be back with some more Colorado Buffs midweek live. Peace in the Middle East. Yeah.